Oh, hello, folks. This is Steve AB40. I let my mind wander a little bit and never know what you're going to come across. Nothing in this episode is a promotion, nor is it a recommendation, but actually there's some reminiscing in it. No, we're not looking at Slashdot. We're looking at the Times of Israel. Now, I go to this website every day because of my experience in Israel, and I'm mainly interested in the security situation. But as I was scrolling down, you can have a sense of humor. As I'm scrolling down, after all this serious stuff, there's this one. Jerusalem municipality threatens legal action against the police over use of skunk liquid. So yeah, in Israel they have street protesters too. I don't know if the umbrella, they're dressed up in like winter clothing, but maybe they're doing it because they know they're going to get sprayed. You see the spray? In a letter to police brass, city claims it has spent millions of shekels. That's what they call the Israeli currency. When I was there, it was Israeli pounds. But then they decided to use the ancient name, shekel. City claims to have spent millions of shekels cleaning up after noxious crowd control weapon called a hazard and a nuisance. So they sent it to the Israel police. Demanding they immediately halt their use of the putrid skunk liquid to disperse protests in the city. The use of this measure is unreasonable, disproportionate, and causes severe harm. Children, elderly, uninvolved. Sprayed out of high-pressure water cannon truck, the highly controversial skunk liquid is often used on the Haredi anti-draft demonstrators and Philistines in the West Bank. It's also been rolled out against anti-government protesters in recent years. The letter further claims the weapon has caused damage costing millions of shekels, which have gone toward Jerusalem's sanitation services to clean up after the use of the liquid, whose smell lingers for days in areas where it's been used. And some say the spray reports skin irritation, shortness of breath, and headaches. What's this got to do with reminiscing? Well, I've used skunk liquid. Now, for those of you who've never had the experience, I can remember when I was a kid in grade school. Now, I lived in a small town, not much different than Ramseur or Asheboro. In town, Came out the front door. We had a porch. It wasn't very high. It was only 2 steps up. And as I stepped down those 2 front steps to the sidewalk, I was going to go to school. My parents had daylilies planted right there on both sides, and there was a skunk there, and he sprayed me. He waved his, because I startled him. So as a kid, did I ever see dead skunks in the road with a car hit? Yes. Seen them here, out in the country. Are there skunks around here? Yes. Okay, so that's when I was in grade school. But I'll tell you about something else, but first I want to show you this. So I just put skunk liquid into Google search, and it says concentrated skunk essence, extra strong, 1 ounce. They sell everything on Amazon, right? Don't drink it. You know, when I was a kid, you'd see these little 1 ounce, 2 ounce glass bottles with the metal caps where people were drinking their, see, my town in Randolph County, North Carolina, it's a semi-dry county where we have 100 counties, and some are dry counties, which means the voters of the county voted that there be no alcohol sales at all, period. Randolph County is a semi-dry, which means that certain designated towns and municipalities may permit certain stores to sell beer and allow the state ABC store to operate. Ramseur is an example. 4 miles that way. Actually, you've seen the ABC store in 1 or 2 of my videos when I was showing you something happening in front of where they were building the new little pharmacy building. Pulled in there and turned around. So when I was a kid, you'd see bottles like this, empty. People are jugging their 1 ounce of whiskey, throwing the bottle away. And so that's another reminisce. Be careful about bottles like that. Don't assume that it's alcohol. If somebody bought some of this and dropped it in certain places, people might try to pick it up and drink it. Although I suspect if they got the cap off, well, you never know. They might slug it down faster than they can smell it, but they'll be sorry. Concentrated skunk essence, extra strong, 1 ounce skunk essence spray. Stop unwanted loitering. Now listen to this. Stop unwanted loitering and unwanted guest stop trespassing. It doesn't sound like they're trying to keep deer out of the yard. A couple of months ago, I was reading one of the local news sites for Asheboro, and a woman came out and got into her car. This is in Asheboro City. Got into her car, which was parked in her driveway, and discovered there's one of those beggars sleeping in the back seat of her car. Now I say beggars, you've seen my videos where you pull into the Office Business 64 to go to shop at the big box store. They're standing there with their signs begging for, and they've got rucksacks on, and you wonder where they sleep at night. That's what they mean by unwanted guests stop trespassing. I gave you an example. For aiding and keeping unwanted loitering and unwanted guests, to help eliminating trespassing, add skunk to small 1-inch pieces of sponge, preferably the type of sponge used for washing cars. Dish sponge tend to have antibacterial chemicals added. That's true, they can limit the life of the odor. Each soaked piece of sponge should be placed around the perimeter of the property and preferably out of sight. Cotton balls work well also. Now I know what's in the bottle even though they don't tell you. I haven't read this before, but now they're using a phrase that I actually wanted to read this to see if they'd actually say what the chemical is, but the next paragraph actually tells me, and I'll interpret it for you. Skunk musk is also a natural way to stop unwanted loitering and vandalism around your home, Used in trapping lure formulation. What is skunk musk? What's musk? Now, I want to remind you that a long time ago I worked for a company called Raman Haas, which still exists, at their brand new research laboratory facilities in Spring House, Pennsylvania. It's when I lived in Philadelphia. And have I ever used, now we didn't call it that, skunk musk? The answer is yes. So now let's do a Google search on skunk musk. And it should say something like butyl. Skunk musk, not the phrasing they're using to label the bottles. A defensive secretion produced by skunks, is a pungent, oily liquid with strong, unpleasant odor. It's primarily composed of sulfur-containing chemicals called thiols, butyl. It's primarily composed, which are responsible for its characteristic smell. The musk is stored in 2 sacs near the skunk's anus, asshole, and is discharged through ducts, allowing the skunk to spray it at a target with considerable force and distance. Now the AI but it doesn't give, and it tells you skunk musk does not transmit rabies. Okay. Can skunks transmit rabies by biting you? Yes. Beyond its defensive role, skunk musk has been used in traditional medicine. You can wake somebody up that's unconscious. As a hunting lure, remember the Amazon thing said used in traps? Oh, you mean there may be some animals that will say that scent may be you mean there are predators that would love to eat skunk meat and don't smell or care about getting sprayed? It all depends on what kind of smell receptors you have. And genetically speaking, not all creatures including humans, are created the same. Yes, there are humans who can't smell that. Yes. Now let me tell you what it is. Butyl thiol. But we can say butyl mercaptan. I spelled it wrong. Butyl mercaptan, also known as butane 1-thiol, butane's a gas, C4H10, 4 carbons in a linear structure, otherwise saturated with hydrogen. It's one of the gases in liquefied natural gas. Butane lighters, easily volatile, highly flammable, a little spark sets off, and you can, without too much pressure, you can hold the butane in a closed plastic container as a liquid, but as soon as you release the pressure of the containment, it vaporizes quickly, and if there's a spark, the liquid turns to a vapor coming out the little nozzle, you have a butane lighter. But if you knock one of the hydrogens off and put a SH in its place, you get skunk oil. Here's the chemical formula, but what we want to see is the actual structure. Okay, here it is. This is an N carbon, CH3. This is a CH2, CH2, CH2. That's 4 carbons. Then a sulfur instead of a hydrogen there. And then there's the ending hydrogen. Because sulfur is generally bivalent, so it has to. So could there be 2 butyls and 1 sulfur? That's a different compound, and it has its uses too. And does it smell anywhere near as bad? No! And why did I go over the business about butane being so volatile? Because this formula with the sulfur is volatile but not quite as volatile, and it makes it oily, which means that it may stick to you, which is what the municipality stick to the oils on your skin. Yes, you secrete oils from your skin, and that will be absorbed more readily into the surface oil, and you can't get rid of the stink. Butyl thiol to terminate a polymerization, I'm not spelling it right, reaction. Here it is. Terminate a polymerization reaction mechanism. Butyl thiol to terminate. In radical polymerization, butyl thiol can act as a chain transfer agent, playing a crucial role in terminating polymer growth and controlling the molecular weight of the resulting polymer. A radical initiator generates free radicals, which initiates the polymerizations, like polymerized ethylene, by adding on to monomer units. Then the chain grows by the free radical on the end now grabs another one, and adds it. But you may want to then, like I used to do in the lab at Raman Haas, it may be that after you've let the polymerization reaction go a certain amount of time, you may want to characterize the mixture to see what the chain lengths are in order to figure out how long you would want that polymerization reaction to run in a commercial scale-up situation, so you get the correct mixture of chain lengths in the final product that then can be sprayed on a car and make a paint film. And one way to terminate a reaction at different time lengths is to add some butyl thiol. So have I ever used it? Sure. So then it says chain transfer when butylthiol is present, meaning you add it, to a rapidly mixing. The growing polymer radical encounters a molecule of butylthiol. Instead of adding another monomer, it adds the hydrogen off the end of the thiol, and the polymer chain terminates. But what happens is that the rest of the butylthiol gets the free radical, and then it does it to itself, and it's all over. I'm not trying to be above your heads. I'm remembering stuff from the 1960s that I did on a daily basis. So I said there was going to be some reminiscing in here. So I wasn't interested in Slashdot today. And the Times of Israel had this article about them spraying the skunk stuff on protesters that were getting in the road and blocking traffic. And then when I let Google take me to skunk stuff, I didn't realize I could buy this on Amazon that easily. And then that leads into the other stuff that leads directly to my reminiscing. I still remember the first time I got sprayed by that damn skunk. As I came out the front door and stepped, and it was right there in the daylilies, and there was nothing I could do about it. Steve AB4, just reminiscing. Saying see you in 73.